With all those basic understanding, now let us go for write a Java program to sort the array. So sorting means what? Either ascending order or descending order. So we will discuss about the ascending order of the sorting. So for this, just to understand concept, I am taking some examples. Otherwise, it's not required because logic will depend on only variables, not on the values. But just for our understanding, let us take some values. So to start with, I'll take a number 2, then 8, then 5, then somewhere 4, then 1. These are array elements. This is one array, say A array, and with some elements. What we supposed to do? When we sort it, the expected output is nothing but it should be 1, 2, 5, 4, 5, 8 should be our output. That's what the meaning of ascending order. Then how do we sort the given array? What is the logic for that to sort the array? Any idea? No. So then we are not getting biggest out of it. No, we are arranging them in the order. Those are two different things. We want to arrange them in the order. So it means biggest means it can be any order. We can pick the biggest from that. But arranging order means, so we have to make sure that they are in a proper order. That's what the meaning of this program. So for that, the approach is, if we consider first element, that is the element which is present as the 0th index position, then 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the indexes. If we consider 0th index position element, it should be compared with remaining all the elements or not. Yeah. Then if we, when we are comparing, when we find something is smaller than this, what are we supposed to do? Print it or swap it. For example, this 2, we have to compare. Is the next number? The next number is greater than 2 or not? If it is greater, already in the ascending order only. Why to do? Why to swap it? So no need to swap it, right? So that is the first part. If it is greater than, do nothing. Just leave it, ignore. And again, compare with next number. 5 is greater than 2? Yes. Again, ignore. 4 is greater than 2? Yes, ignore. But 1 is greater than 2? No, it means there is somebody else is smaller than 1, smaller than 2. What are you supposed to do? Make that as a first number. So that's why swap that number with which position? 0th index position. Correct or not? So if I call this as, so here swap. Then what is that? Let me call this as step 1. Let me call this as step 1. After this step 1, what is the result array it will become? Can you please tell me? 1, which are swapped? Only 1 and 2 are swapped. Why remaining will change? Will not change, no? So therefore 1, 8, 5, 4, 2. Correct or not? Next. What's next thing to do? Next go to second element. If somebody is less than this 2, or it is greater than this. So in that way, it's also finite. So then, so do we need to consider this 0th element once again? No. So 0th element is story is over. It got its own position. Then which one you have to consider? Next position element called 8. Consider second position element is what I mean. So here 0th index position element, and then here is a first index position element. Correct? Then what we supposed to do? Compare 8 with remaining all. If something else is smaller than this 8, then swap it. So first itself, what is supposed to do here? Yeah. So we have to swap it. So first itself, if we compare 8 with 5, 8 with 5, yeah, then next, so 8 is greater than 5. Then what is supposed to do? Swap. If we swap it, what will happen? Here what will be there? 5. And here what will be there? 8. 5 and 8. Step is not over because remaining elements were not compared. Now what is the element which is becoming here? All of you. This is the important point. Now which is the element which is coming at this position? 5. So then we are comparing first index position element. That will become what? 5. Is 5 is greater than 8? Yes or no? No. Therefore, so it is same order only. So ignore. Is 5 is greater than 4? Yes or no? Yes, so swap it. Then what will happen? 4 comes to the first position. But the last element is still there to compare. Then what we have to compare at the last? 4 greater than 2 will happen internally. So please understand this process. Then 4 greater than 2, again swap it. What will happen? Finally, 2 will come and sit in the second position. Yeah, so this is a little challenging to understand or to write it. What is the process? But just understand. This is the step 2. At the end of step 2, what's the result which is happening? First position 1 already there. Second position 2 will come and remaining because of swapping we can't guess it. Yeah. Next, pick the third element. Compare with the remaining all. Compare with remaining all only. Then swap it so that the next smallest element will come in the proper position. Then next step like this. Once the index position reaches to last, do we have any other elements to compare? We have to consider 0, 1, 2, 3. Then obviously at index of 3 only, the fourth also will come and sit in a proper position only, correct or not? So therefore nothing else to do at the last. Then should we consider up to last indexes or only before last index? All of you. Up to before last index only, we have to consider. Last index, if we still take it, then we are going to get some error according to our code. Clear? Next. Once if we consider one index position element, so we have to use that or we have to use only remaining for cross verifying with each and every other element. Once if we consider 0th element, next we have to use first, second, third, fourth positions only to compare, not to cross check. Correct or not? I mean up to the last or last but one. Yeah, once we consider, compare the remaining all. Once we consider, then compare the remaining all. Again from here, compare the remaining all. So therefore, one loop is required, two loops are required. First pick 0, then pick first position, then pick second position, then third position, fourth, like that. So for that, one loop is required. What about for comparison? What about for comparison? It has to, once we take 0, then this has to run with 1, 2, 3, fourth position of elements. Once if we pick 1, then second, third, fourth position elements to be compared. One, if we select second index position, then it has to run with third and fourth. If we select third index position, then it has to run with only fourth. Then we should not select fourth. That's why. So this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we need one loop. Then this 1, 2, 3, 4, then 2, 3, 4, then 3, 4, then 4. For this also we need one more loop or not? Yes. So it is a nested loop based program. So for that, let us, with this basic understanding, we can write the logic very easily. So what is that is? First take one integer array. So let's take some int array. Some array name is A with some elements. So for execution, we'll take the elements later. We understood the process. Values are not required. Only array name is enough. Index positions are enough. Then to start with, first for loop, I'm writing for understanding as outer for loop to consider each element up to last index or last but one. Up to last index or we have to check compare with the last also. Outer loop before last index only. Because yeah, I'll tell you after writing the code, you'll understand why up to before last index only. So outer for loop to consider each element up to before last index. Before last index. So how to write the loop for that? So for loop to start, int I equals 0 to start, then I should be less than or equals array name dot length, then I plus plus. Why I'm not writing -1 or let me write -1 first. Now if you write length, then it's still more than. If take length, still it is more than that. Okay. So this is the outer for loop. Yeah. Then what's inner for loop has to do? Once we consider 0th position, inner loop has to run from 1. Then once we consider outer as 1, inner loop has to run from 2. Then if it is for 2 is inner, then outer loop has to be 3. And if 3 is inner, outer loop has to run from 4. Then what is the last? Inner loop is running from next index of outer loop. Am I correct? Yes or no? So that's why take the next for loop. So for loop int j equals, how to make it as next element of outer index? Generic logic, I plus 1. If I is 0, j has to be 1 to start with. If I is 1, j has to be 2. Like that, if I is 2, j has to be 3. That's why it should be I plus 1. Then where this has to run? For cross-checking, we are going up to last index every scenario. Up to last index. That's why j should be less than or equals array name dot length property minus 1. J has to increment by 1 only. Correct? Correct. Yes or no? I'll tell you. What's the mistake? I'll tell you. Then we'll realize and you remember better. Then after this, what we are doing? We are comparing every time. For comparison, we need a if condition. So if, what is the condition? If next element is greater than the current element, then swap it. Then swap it. Then what is the thing we have to write? If a of I is, it should be smaller to swap or bigger to swap? If a of I is greater than a of j, then what are you supposed to do? Swap the elements. How to swap it? Assign that j element to I element. Am I correct? Yes or no? Assign that jth position element to the a of I and run the loop once again. Understood? Yeah. So then, so here because of this, if you run the loop, what's the last index of I value? So we are running up to length minus 1. What's the last index? 4. So finally, one fine day, I value will become 4. Correct or not? Then here what we are using? I plus 1. Do we have any 4 plus 1? Fifth index is there. There our program will be throwing some exception called as array index out of bounds exception. That's why outer loop has to stop where? At 3 only. But if you are using length minus 1, that is 3 or that is 4? 4. Then we have to reduce further. That's why length minus 1 minus 1. So we can write it as minus 2. What's the reason behind this? It has to run before last index, not up to last index. Understood? So this is the process. So the same process that we discussed will happen internally, and we are going to get the output as a sorting order. So for that we can print it by separate loop. We can't print inside inner loop or inside outer loop also. It is doing different tasks. That's why take one for loop and run from starting index, then up to last index of the array, that's length minus 1, then I plus plus. So just for printing only, so we can use system.out.println array name with its index position. So this has to give the output of 12458 if our input is 28541. Understood? Sure? Yeah. So we'll execute this program, and also we will see the other approach to assign the values to the array dynamically. Not from the console we have seen by using the scanner class. Now we will see a different approach also after executing this program. So for this, so I'm back to arrays. So we have an array project. Inside this package, let me take a new class. So I'll name this class as sorting of array. So we have seen the method approach also in the last class. Okay. All these logical parts professionally recommended to write inside a method, not outside a method. Just for execution. So here I'm taking directly, but it must be written in a method. So inside this, first we'll take one array, directly one array. So int array some name A equals the array elements are some 2, 8, then 5, 4, 1. I'm trying to take the same thing so that you understand better. Then followed by outer for loop. What's the purpose of it? Run from starting to last but one index. So int I equals 0. I'll take wantedly. I should be, sorry, I should be less than or equals array name dot length property -1. I'm not taking -2. Wantedly, I'm taking -1. I'll show what is the error. I plus plus. So inside this for loop, inner for loop is required for checking the remaining elements of the I. That's why int j equals, we can't write 1. It has to be next element of every I. That's why I plus 1 only. Then the j has to be less than or equals array name dot length -1, then j plus plus. What's the purpose of this j loop? Compare. So if you compare, if the a of I is greater than a of j, array element present at I index is greater than j index element, then swap it. What is the swapping? A of I, yeah, a of I equals a of j. It means j element we are assigning back to I position. That's what the purpose of it. So here, okay, I supposed to close here. I have to remove. That's the purpose of this loop. That's all. Now where we have to print it? Outside the outer for loop, I am taking one more for loop just for printing int I equals 0. Then I should be less than or equals array name dot length property -1. For printing, we have to consider every index. Then system dot out dot println. So print array with index. Now is it right or do we get any exception? We will get exception because, so once here array element index position reaches to 4, here which one we are using? 5. But do we have any index position for 5? No. For this array there is no 5. That's why we are going to get first exception. Let me save it. Let me execute control F11. So what happened? We got all ones. Now, pardon? So here if a of I first element 2, then swapped. So a of I is greater than a of j, correct? No, yeah, yeah. It is swapping with all first elements only. So then let me check. A of I is greater than a of j. So let me analyze. So it has to work for every type of input. That's how it should work. No, that is only for dummy to print. That's all. So we take a first element and we compare. This 2 is greater than 8. Then false. 2 is greater than 1. 2 is greater than 1. Then assign that j value to I. The next 8 is greater than 5. 8 is greater than 2. So then 2 and 8. So 2, 8, 5 for 1. So 2 and 1 will be swapped. Obviously, that's happening. The next J loop has to run. Okay. So don't know the swaps. And then next one got its position. 8 and 2 has to be swapped. Yeah. So for this, to understand where is the mistake, I want to trace this. What is the comparison? What is happening? Okay. So let us use a debugging technique for this to solve it. So I have applied some breakpoints there. So let us right click. This is what we'll do it. Run as, debug as debug Java application. Yes, I want to switch to debug window. Then, so currently JVM is at line number 9. And what are the values of variables? Not yet started. Now, which key to be used? F6. So I'm pressing F6. What's I value? 0. Then again F6. J value is 1. It's working fine. You are seeing right? The next followed by condition became false. If condition became false, because what is that? 2 is greater than 8. False, no? Yes or no? That's why J is incremented. Yeah, J position is 2, which means 5. 2 greater than 5. False. The next 2 greater than 4. False. The next 2 greater than 1. False or true? True. Enters into the body. Yeah. And what is happening? That A of J. What's A of J? A of J is A of 4. A of 4 is what? A of J element. J is 4. What's element there? 1. Then that has to be assigned to A of I. What's I value? I value 0, no. So A of 0 has to be assigned with A of I. A of I. Yeah. So here, now I understood very quickly what is the thing that we need to change. Okay. So I'll stop my debugging. I'll stop my debugging. Then here, let me go back to Java mode. So for swapping, we need one external variable approach. No? 3 variable approach we have to follow. So what is that we have to do is store one of the value. Store one of the value int some temp variable. Store inside this one A of I. Yeah. Then to A of I, assign A of J. Then to A of J, what we have to assign? Temp value. This is what the 3 variable approach which we discussed. Correct? Now let me save it. Let me execute. So we got out. Understood? So swapping is in terms of 3 variable approach. Just what we are doing is everything we are giving as 1, 1, 1 only in the previous scenario. That's why only that is a change which we have to make here. Understood? Yeah, 3 variable approach. One of the variable value we are storing in sample variable called temp. Then assign the J value to I, then temp value to J. That's all. So if you swap this, so we are going to get the output 12548, 12458. Then followed by, if I take one more number, say 9. If I say 9, then what's output? 124589. Then next I'll take something as 999. Then I'll take 100. To check our logic is generic or not, then also I'm taking some 0. Now what should be the output? Control F11. You can see 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, then 100 and also 999. Yeah, done. If I take one more number, it's also working. Yes. If you add once number, say at the starting one I'm adding -1. Now -1 should be the first output. Correct? So this is working for all the scenarios. Yeah. Let us cross verify. I'll make this as -2. I'll make this as -2. Then let me re-execute. Still, did we get all? Or any number is missed? We got all numbers, right? So then, if I want to add one more number, say some 5 8s, save it, execute it. Still, we got all. Yeah, that's why last index is nothing is happening. It's dummy. It's there. That's all. Last index is doing nothing. So if we make -2 also, still the process of last 2 elements will be swapped anyhow. Yeah. If you write it up to -1, if you write it up to -2, then still it's working. Understood? Negative numbers, positive numbers. Can we have same numbers? For example, somewhere in the middle, I'm adding one more existing number called 100. Then what's the sorting means? 100 is there twice. Then we should get only once or twice. We will get twice, but in the same positions. 100 and 100 are equal positions. In that way also, our program is generic logic. Understood? Yeah. So from this, what I didn't write is the 3 variable swapping technique. So int temp to be assigned with a of I, then a of I to a of j, then a of j with a value to be assigned as temp value. That's all. This is the process. If you write up to -1 or -2, then still it is not an issue. Okay. Clear? So you can take from this. Instead of handwriting code, you can take from here. It will be very, very clean to know it. Then, like I said at the earlier, we will discuss about one more approach to give random input to the array. So here we are giving the array elements, but I don't want to give. I have to give from the random process. I am not giving. Some math library will give the elements, but our logic is sorting the elements. So for that, what to write? So let me take, since our array name is A, I have commented the above line. I'll take empty array approach of new int of size. How much? It's up to you. As how many ever we want, we can give it because our logic is generic. Now to this A array, read the elements randomly. So for that, so to read the elements 10 times, we have to use a loop. So for int I equal to 0 to start, then I should be less than or equals array name dot length property -1, then I plus plus. The loop is running for the equal number of times the size of the array. Then here, to assign the elements of this each index position of the array, the next concept is there is a math control space. It is available in which package? Java.lang, which is a default package which is available for every Java program. We no need to import anything like a scanner class. So math dot, there is a predefined function called as random function. Math dot random. Then, so here I'll tell you why I'm writing this. First, let me write it. Star 100 I'm writing. Math dot random, then asterisk 100 is the statement which I have written. So let me place there. Yeah. So since we want to have the integer values of it, it will generate some different values. I'll explain, but I'm typecasting it to integer type only. Yeah. So now this is the program. Now let us save it, run the program. You observe. We got some numbers and our logic is sorting them. Did you understand? Did you understand? Yeah. So now let us rerun. Again, it gives some numbers. Math dot random, gave some random numbers, but our logic is sorting. Understood? Am I clear? So just to prove that, what is the original order, so I'm using one print statement here. I use a print statement. Yeah, so let me save it, F11. You can see this is the elements that math.random function is giving. But our logic is sorting the elements. Understood? Now if you notice how many times I execute, we are getting how many digit numbers? How many digits we are getting? Up to 2-digit number only we are getting. We are getting a single digit called 7. We are getting a 2 digits only. Are we getting any 3-digit numbers? No. Now you observe, I'll make this as 1000. I have changed it to 1000. Now I re-execute. Now which numbers we got? 2-digit and also 3-digit numbers we got. Now if we make 10, if you make 10 only, now can you guess what will come? Single digit numbers only will come. You observe? Yeah, it means by default, math.random method will generate, by default I'm saying, it will generate the values from 0 to 1. That means 0, 0 0.5, 0 0.4532 something something, and 0.999 only, where 0 is included, 1 is not included. That's what a default nature of a math.random. Now, if you have these numbers like 0, 0 0.5, 0 0.45, something like that, then here to this math.random, now as a programmer, we are changing its default nature by multiplying a 10. What will happen when we multiply 10 to 0? 0 only. 0 0.5 becomes 0.50 means 5.0. The next 0 sorry 4.532. Then here 9.99 it will become. Correct or not? But what we are doing, we are this entire thing we are converting into integer only. It means what this will become 0, this will become 5, this will become 4, and so on. This will become 9 only. That's the reason behind why math.random star 10 after typecasting into integer, why it is generating a single digit means this is a story which is internally happen. Similarly, at the same time, if we multiply with 100, what will happen? This will become 0 only. This will become 50.0, correct? And this will become 45.32. This will become 99.99. Again typecast to integer in this also. Then becomes only 0 and 50 and 45 and 99. Then into 100, up to 3 digits will be considered. Then convert into integer, becomes only numbers, float point will be erased. That's what this math.random function is doing. And those numbers we are storing into one array, and we are performing our logic of sorting the array elements. This don't use it. Understood? Yeah. So this is one most frequently asked interview question. You understand and remember the logic. Don't try to butify. Okay. So if something is not happening, we know the shortcuts of debuggings. Now what I'm doing? From greater than symbol, I'm changing to less than. I didn't change anything. Only symbol I'm changing. Now what's order? Greater than a of I, greater than a of j. Ascending order we got as a sorting. Now if you change it, we are going to get the descending order, big to small. Yeah, that's it. So here is a math.random approach. Yeah, if you want, you can take a picture of it. Done. After this sorting of the array, so then there are some more practice questions that I would like to give. The question is, write a Java program to print biggest element of array, which is divisible by n. N can be any number. What's the meaning of this one? Scenario 1 or example scenario 1. If we have one array of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Order can be anything, of course. Some 25, some 45 also. This is the array input. Then I said there is n also. That n is some 3. So if this is the input, what's output? The number bigger and also divisible by 3 is the condition. So therefore, 45 should be the output for this scenario. Yeah. Next scenario, the same array 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 25, 45. But my n is 7. What's output? What's output? We should not get any output. Our program should not give any output. It is a challenging task, same as like printing second biggest element also. Question looks simple. Okay, what is their biggest and also divisible by 3, we can add it. We tend to go that approach, but you execute and check, you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so this is one question. Then next interesting part, we know to copy one elements into, copy one array elements into another empty array, right? So first, the input array is this, like this. What is that is? Say 11, 40, 25, 67, 32, 44. Then you have to copy the array elements in such a way that output has to be like this. What is that? 40, then 11, then 67, 25, then 44, 32. This should be the output. If input is this is the order to be copied as output. Understood? Yeah. Next. So far, we didn't discuss any character-based arrays questions. So we are discussing every time number-based programs only. Now here, so to keep it simple, based on some character array questions. So for all questions, let me take some character array, say A, B, C, D, and so on, up to I. Sorry, J. J is 10th one, right? J is 10th one. Yeah, of course, for writing logics, we don't need array elements. But first question is, write a program to print count of vowels of char array. Then second, write a program to count of vowels. You can take for consonants also. Separate program. The next, write a Java program to print uppercase letter to lowercase letter. We discussed ASCII values, right? 65 to 90, 97 to 112. We discussed. Now, for example, if the array is having uppercase letters and also lowercase letters, both. So for this question, the sample input, the example, sample input is say A, B, C, D, E. This is the input. Then what should be the output? A, B, C, D, E. This should be the output. Yeah. So next, question number 3. Write a program to replace consonants of character array with a special symbol called @ and print. It means what? It means if our input array is some J, Q, L, N, V, something like this. Okay, no vowels. Sorry, only consonants I have taken. Just a minute. Then A, E, some M. So these are the array elements. Then what should be our output? If you understand the question, can you tell me? So it's a consonant. A consonant means we have to print @ in place of that. @ next. A will be as it is because it's a vowel. Next, @ once again. Then A should be as it is. Then @ once again. Yeah, this is one thing. Yeah. Shall I go for one more? Yeah. So please take this first. Next one. This is a bit challenging. So for that, there is a character array called CH whose elements are A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, write a Java program to copy vowels into new empty array and copy consonants into new empty array. Yeah. So for example, if we name one empty array as character vowel is array name, what should be there in this? What are those? A, E according to my input. That's all. And if you take one more character consonant array as an empty array, after copying, what should be there? B, C, D, F should be there. So here it should not be, no empty cells should be there. Here also no empty cells should be there. It should be a precise size. 2 vowels means it should be 2 size only. 4 vowels means it should be 4 size only, like that. And your logic has to be generic for all these questions. Yeah. Enjoy this.